Yo, Prof here, and let's just say today is a big day, and it's not just because I've been watching way too much Dank Pods. Let's get the Polish Army Tech headlamp out of the way here. Oh gosh, look at all these notes. Well, the PC I built for a friend loves blue screening at the moment, so we're slowly, really slowly, Elliot is me, the prophecyst. I am slowly, very slowly troubleshooting that. Why is it so slow? I have not found the cause yet. I've kept resolving things caused by the issue, or like issues caused by the problem, but I've not fixed the problem. So that's a whole nother ball of wax. Why are we here today, though? Like I said, Dank Pods. I've watched too much. That's not true. I've actually wanted something like this for a long time. I have always said what Apple needed to do was update the iPod Classic to have an SSD. And what is in here should be the closest thing to that. And I've always, if you guys are wondering, I've had actually more than two iPod Classics, but I've used iPod Classics all the way back to the 3rd gen fairly regularly. Apparently my dad, I can't win a damn thing. My dad loves winning things, or is very good at it, let's put it that way, and won a 3rd gen iPod Classic. Ended up using it. It ended up being his, but we used it in his car, boat, all that sort of stuff. So I regularly used it, or if I knew I was taking a trip, because that stuff's worth big money, he'd let me borrow it. Then eventually I had a iPod Shuffle. iPod Shuffle, best iPod, hands down, in my opinion. I really need to get the battery replaced in mine. I still have it. From there, though, once the 5th gen iPod Classic dropped, the iPod Video is what it was called at the time. Or it wasn't even called iPod Video. It was just iPod with video. I bought it. Sadly, I ran that for until the iPhone came out, and I sold it to buy an iPhone. Then later on, when I was real sick, for many years and stuff, we were making all these trips to, ended up being at Mayo Clinic. While we were there, I had to be there for like a week or two at a time because they just do test after test. You meet with all these doctors and stuff. I ended up buying, and actually my mom bought me, thankfully, a new iPod Classic. So I had something to do during all this time we were waiting. That would have been a 6.5 gen, a 6.5 gen. Basically, that's the least one you want, is the 6.5. As it requires, it's locked to the storage it has. It couldn't at the time have Rockbox, or later on once that was a thing. And what I mean locked by the storage is that they come in like 120 or 160. I think I had the 160, and then but it can only run that. And then if you want to mod them, the 160 also, I think it was 160 or 120, requires a special cable to adapt it to what all the other iPods are using. So, and I ran that literally into the ground till it would no longer start up in my car. Like even once I wasn't carrying it around because I had my phone that you guys are being recorded on. Not this one, this is Pixel 7 Pro, but probably would have been the, I don't think I really listened to music off the HTC Merge I had, which had the flip out slide out keyboard yet. Still using the iPod Classic then, but once we got to the LG G4, loved that thing. And it had a headphone jack and everything, and I could slap an SD card in there. A big enough one to finally just replace the iPod entirely. So I thought. But the interface is the big thing for me. That click wheel, as Dank Pods has said, that is like the best interface there has been for an iPod, and I agree. Or I call it an iPod, an MP3 player. And I would have to... I had a Zune in there too. I had a white one and a brown one at one point. Brown one was iffy, but used. I ended up getting the white one off of somebody during... I used to work at GameStop. They didn't have money for the trade-in, or for their game that they wanted to pre-order. I think it was like a big release. Like we're talking... Wasn't Halo 3, that'd be too early. Might have been Halo 4. Or another big release like that, like a Call of Duty or something. And they actually traded in, or were going to trade in, the Zune towards it. And I'm like, well, instead of you getting a paltry amount of sum through GameStop, I'm gonna go take a break, you know, and let's just say I ended up with a Zune after that. And then it ended up going to a close friend of mine who I think it's dead now, but ran that literally through time. I ended up bringing mine to France with me because that was in between iPods essentially, and had it full of my music. Actually, super liked the Zune. Still was not the same vibe as the Classic, which is why I ended up going back to a Classic. And while I was using it, I would still use the shuffle. So the shuffle would kind of be the day-to-day walk around, and then the Zune would be kind of like when you're sit down stuck someplace. I wanted to go back to the all-in-one. And why is that a thing? Well, because I bought, and I was going to buy one of these and build it myself, but as you guys know, I have plenty of things going on, and this is something I wanted to just enjoy. And I knew it was going to be a bit of work to do, and a bit of work to like learn how to repair these. You might be getting a hint as to what it is. This is a Firewire charger. This looks like just a used one. I didn't pay too much for it. Hopefully the cable looks better than that. Here's a case. It's not a... Here, product identify. 30 pin to Firewire. This is definitely not an official one. I may go searching on eBay or Amazon. Like, it looks like an OEM made one because it's got the old clip and everything. But I'm like 99% sure that Apple never labeled them that way. Why did I get the Firewire? If you want to charge an iPod, especially once dead, Firewire is by far the best way to go. I used to have, because I've had stuff all the way back to a 3rd gen, and all the accessories and stuff. That was another great thing about the iPod, especially the Classic. With the 30-pin connector, everything had it. It was the standard, right? So, like, I had a mini hi-fi system over at my dad's house, in my bedroom there, and that had an iPod dock on it. I literally had an iPod dock that could output video. Like, I could play anime off of my iPod and have it go to a CRT television out of this iPod dock. Like, as a kid at that age, you know, and when you're going place to place, you know, like, what do you want to say, like, you know, between households after they're separated, being able to carry around, like, this is your music you are carrying around, and you can do it at either, like, why not? Like, that's amazing. That's amazing. Then we should have a stock 30 pin. This comes with every one of them. Knowing this was happening, went straight to Apple. They have almost no 30-pin accessories anymore, but they do still sell the 30-pin USB. So these are 2 official, bought directly from Apple, like $19 a pop. I'm going to use one for charging this bad boy, and this one's going on the shelf for when I fuck this up, because eventually, here you can see on these, this is definitely the era of Apple starting to have, I mean, here, even if you look at the older one, which is not, I don't think this is an official one, but look, there's barely any stream relief there in the first place. And I can tell you that cable also doesn't seem like, if it works, this is mainly just going to be used for charging. I will probably try and find an official one someplace, still in good condition. But even here, there's not much strain relief. So make sure, I have these like little rubber things you can put on, or wrap them in electrical tape, because that will make your cable, like, we would have people wear out their cables when I was doing ASP in a matter of months, right? And we were using the same cable at our counters and our repair stations for like years. And they're like, oh, how do you manage to do that? It's like, well, because we don't treat them like shit, right? And we wrap the connectors. So here's what I'm talking about. Like, you can buy these little rubbery guys. They're from Night Eyes, specifically designed for Apple cables. And they just go on here and they just add a bit more strain relief. See how it's bending way out here instead of right up next to where that would be, and this is on an Apple C2C 6-foot charge cable. These are really designed for 30-pin micro B, even mini maybe. The connector, it can't stretch over like a Type A, like on something like this, so I'll probably have to tape them. Otherwise, they have this, what I'll probably buy for these is they have this putty that like you mold and then it hardens. I forget what it's called. It's not cheap. So that's why I was surprised people are using it on cables. But you can make some really nice stream reliefs with it. And that is what I'll use on here. Don't care too much about this until I get an official one. Just to maintain the quality of the cable. Trust me, you protect those stream relief joints, your cable's going to last you way, way, way longer. Because it's going to get to the point where you have to wear out the connectors rather than the strain of the cable just working back and forth and back and forth and back and forth till it breaks. Even the white on the cable, it'll get dirty, nasty looking. Just wipe it off. You can use soap and water. Turns out, wow, that cleans a lot of things. Otherwise, I have those tub of towels that would do an amazing job. But yeah, protect this joint right there. See that right there and there? So electrical tape, what you do is you start away from it, you know, like the width of the electrical tape, then tape up to the edge of the connector. If you can go over the connector, which you could easily do on the A side, do it, and then go back down, because you're like doubling it up essentially. So you start here, start one width of cable, then go up this way. In this case, you can go over the connector, no problem. Here, you might have an issue depending on your case. And then wrap it around here and then go back down. You can also do it the other way. Start here, go up this way, then wrap it and go back up here. You want that double direction, otherwise it'll just come undone. And keep it with the electrical tape. If you're doing just black, you want Super 33 because it's stretchier. You want to keep that real tight. You don't want the thick stuff. You want stretchy. Otherwise, all the colored ones are like 35, so it's kind of in between the 33 and the 88. But yeah, that's why I bought these. 40 bucks on obsolete cables. Why, you might ask? Because I had, look at that amazing thing. Look at it. It's beautiful. And it's a thin one? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So, and he put the correct size on. This is from Elite Obsolete. There you go. Elite Obsolete Electronics. Oh, sorry. Elite Obsolete Electronics. This is where Dank Pons has mentioned, like he was doing it before even he did it. And that's where he got his custom cases from. And custom parts, like clear and replacement parts and stuff like that. Replacement parts like this black. That's a black back. And this is part of the reason why I wanted it just... This is a 5.5 gen, a 5.5 gen. Basically, this is my perfect pod. I may make for myself a 7th gen, and I may even run Rockbox on that with mods and stuff like that. But because I want to enjoy the iPod as much as you know, I could easily build this if I have the time. I don't really have the time right now, right? I already got fingy prints on it. Hold on here. Do I have a cleaning cloth around here? My shirt? I might have to get like a screen. Oh, I have my case. Well, I want to handle it without the case. I was going to I might have to get a screen protector. Well, I did buy a hard case. This is very similar to the Belkin one I once owned for my 6th gen. And this should fit. Because this is a thin one. Yeah, this will fit perfectly. I don't want to... Do I want to put it in there right away? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I want to get that screen clean before I do and make sure the inside of this is nice and clean as well. Get out some microfiber. Let's go into 2x zoom. Look at this beautiful thing. Obviously, I had to go with the yellow because that is my color. Now, a lot of the ones he shows have clear center buttons or the center button the same color as the ring. I didn't go that way because I actually liked how the full blacked out ring was as well, but I thought being yellow here would have been too much yellow, personally. I really, really love how this turned out. I didn't like seeing the PCB under the click wheel button. But I love seeing the clear front here and seeing that green PCB under there. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And then because I went with the black button, and you can see the green goes well with the black back. And I did buy the 512 gig, and it's custom engraved for the 512 gig. Why did I go with 512 and not anything bigger? Watching Dankpod's videos, you can make them up to like 2 terabytes really, but anything over, like you can't really fit, like you're limited more on the amount of songs at that point, not storage. And 512, from watching his videos, is kind of the like, if you go over that, even the terabyte ones start having issues. And realistically, I have a 512 gig phone, and I know about how much music I have. Unedited, uncompressed, and all that sort of stuff, it's maybe 500-600 gigs. Once I format it specifically for this iPod, I'm probably going to try to stick with lossless as much as I can, going from FLAC to ALAC. But I don't think I'll have any problem putting it on here, because the other thing is when I want like portable music, I for the most part cut out, like, Japanese singles will have like 4 different versions of the same song, and there'll be like a normal cut, a TV cut, a karaoke, vocalist version, a remixed version. I cut all that shit out. I just want to hear the albums, and then I also usually don't put on best of albums, because why would I have a best of album on here if I have every album on here, right? In my opinion, and I'll just shuffle the artist then. But yeah, I'm so glad I had this custom made, because this thing is done perfect. I like that it's I would have been fine having the thick one. What is this model, right? Well, it's the 5.5 gen. That should be, like, generally speaking, the 5th gen is what they consider to have the best built-in DAC amp. It's also the most moddable from what I've seen and read. I know back in the day, the 6th gen was hard, almost impossible to get Rockbox on. It seems like they've eventually figured that out. The 6th gen have the issue of being locked to whatever storage they come in. Like, they're limited to 120 gig, I think, or the 160, but then you gotta get the cable. Then it might even be knocked back down to 120 gig. So in my opinion, you basically want the 5.5 gen or the 7th gen, unless you want one of the older ones. I could see you guys wanting a 4th gen. That is like the iPod that made the iPod shape that you see on everything, right? That's the 4th gen, right? Or some of you may be nostalgic for the 3rd gen with the buttons, like his had play, pause. I don't remember. I think it was play, pause. That might have been stop or something, and then previous, next. I don't remember the exact location of the buttons, but this feels really nice. Let's get this thing on. Turn off, hold. Powering up. We got the. There you go. Straight on in. That noise is back. Here. Oh, can't wait to load this thing up. I just really like the touch. I didn't think he was gonna match the, because I got the 512 gig version, within the same font and everything. Apple really doesn't care about these, though, nowadays, it seems, because they don't. Like, you'd think if they're reproducing this. 10 seconds. Yeah, we'll see if that's good enough once I get back in. And ooh, sound check. I like sound check on. That's what balances the audio of all your songs. And I listen. Number one thing, right there. That's what I'm going to go to most times. Shuffle songs. And that's also why the 5.5 gen has as long as you start with the bigger size storage in them, they have more RAM in them, which means they can deal with more songs. So that's why I went 5.5 gen, 512 gig. And he has the Elite Obsolete guy has a list on his website of, like, if you buy this size, you get the bigger RAM. If you buy less than this size, you don't. Probably because he's figured out what's needed and not. But this ended up being like, this is the exact one that I would have made myself, except I just ordered it up. Well, I've been thinking about making one myself for a while. Then went over to the site and I'm like, oh, picking out parts and stuff. And I'm like, oh, can you just do it? Yep. Oh, they'll sell me a complete one, that's for sure. And there happened to be a sale, like literally ending the day that I was last on there, and I just ordered it. I said, fuck it. I want to just fill this thing with my music and enjoy. God, I feel like this thing feels smaller than it did. I don't know about you guys, but it's probably because my hands are bigger than they were when I used to use these. You know, like I'm a grown adult now, and this actually feels small. Like anybody saying they can't carry this around, um, just a quick update. I noticed this while I was playing with it once I'd opened it, and you can see it earlier in the video if you check. Do you see that dot right there? That is actually in/on the screen. I'm going to have to reach out about that. Also, along this edge here, it is not fully clipped in. If you see, there's no gap on this side. See, it's perfectly clear. Here, starting around where the headphone jack is, all the way down, there's like a little gap. So something's not right, and I'm gonna have to reach out. Oh, you can actually see here as well that the headphone jack is not aligned fully. Is that possibly what's causing the rest of this here? Could be. Yeah, I only noticed this once I turned it on, but you can definitely see it's definitely worse in person. That like burn-in spot there on the screen. Definitely gonna have to get that worked out.